Hey, how's it going, everybody? Give me a second. I'm gonna set up a sign out front so people know that we're streaming. If I don't put up some sort of a barricade, people will just wander in here, start chit-chatting about whatever. Okay. We're looking today at some samples from the Mono Lake Basin. So that's in California, if you're familiar with Mono Lake. Very famously, the lake system lowered dramatically as a result of the diversion of some of the water that was coming into it. And it was being diverted to resources in California because they needed water. And the samples that we're looking at are from a much older period. These are actually outcrop samples. They weren't collected from the lake, but they were collected from the rock layers that are basically old shorelines and old lake deposits when the lake was much, much higher. And they're very famous in geologic record because everybody is sort of curious about the relatively recent history of this system. And these are the Wilson Creek Formation diatomites. They're not really diatomites, but they're lake sediments. And we've basically been working in the sort of Mono Lake / June Lake and surrounding basins on research for, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years now. And I'm particularly interested in the little Stephanodiscus, which is these little thorny looking guys that we have right here. And in particular, there's a diatom that I described, a new species that I described, I think it was last year or the year before, relatively recently, from June Lake. And it has a historical occurrence in the valley as a species with slightly different characteristics and a different name. So we're trying to figure out what their relationship is. And my graduate student Laura is here.
Hello.
And she's going to be running the SEM, and I'm going to switch places with her.
Those are the samples from the outcrop?
Yeah, these are from
wow.
Wilson Creek. This is some little stuff. It's very small.
Oh, little. Oh, yes, very little.
So this is 15 microns, something like that. And this is sample 1 on that list up there. And let me just get this in focus, and I'll start the picture, and then we can switch places.
Very
and
cool.
You can be in charge for a while, or for as long as you like, really. Careful. How was lab?
It's a pretty good one because they're happy because we play Pictionary instead of doing the thing. So it's...
As long as they're playing a game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I get them to know the glacier-related words. So
Oh, that's actually a good idea.
Yeah.
Do they get some sort of prize for winning the Pictionary contest?
Well, the winning team gets extra points on any lab that needs a little
Very nice.
something.
Very nice.
So, yeah.
Can they just get, it's just extra credit, or do they get like bonus points that go up to a number?
No, it's just like the winning team, the members on that team get more points. Like if you have a lab that wasn't too good, then you get points on that one.
That motivates them.
Well, it did. The winning team had more people that needed help than the losing team, and they won by a lot. So
They're ready to win.
yeah.
This is Laura,
Hello.
and she's a master's student here at Indiana State, and she's working on these projects with us. Her current research is Gull Lake, but
Close enough.
it's very close by. And then Laura collected these samples from the outcrop this summer in July, right?
I think it between June and July somewhere.
Studio says good morning, Laura.
Hello.
And Anna's here as well. Anna Ostrovich is a diatomist. And she says, I had a few bird lifers on Mono Lake when she was there. She's a birder.
Oh.
So, did you see any cool birds when you were out in the field?
Well, gulls.
Really? They had gulls on Gull Lake?
When, yes, and also like there's tons of them on the shores of Mono, and they hunt the brine flies and shrimp
Yep,
and things
yep.
like that. So yeah.
This is slightly, we have to do this slightly larger than my.
And we had a very pretty jay on the camp. It was a stellar jay.
Stellar jays are my favorite, one of my favorite birds.
Gorgeous bird.
They're incredible, like the colors, and then they have these like really sort of expressive little eyebrows.
Every
and-
afternoon he would come, and I think he was looking for food, but we enjoyed staring at it.
It's good.
Yeah.
Anna says there's a space between June and July. Is there a missing month that I don't know about?
No.
Okay. Sometime between June and July.
Yeah.
Mono Lake is filthy with gulls.
A little bit, yes.
Studio says stellar jays are jerks.
I don't know. It was very pretty. That's all I know.
Yeah. Well, blue jays are kind of, they're in the sort of smart bird group, you know. The jays are kind of like, well, I feel like gulls are bigger jerks.
Gulls are annoying. We also had one in camp, and it would come really close. and-
Jesus, all corvids are jerks. I don't know, you feel like crows and blue jays are all jerks?
I don't like crows.
That's a
Or
strong
ravens,
statement.
or no.
That's a strong statement, Studio.
How are we naming this? Stefanodiscus carrascus
You
3?
have to change the. You have to change the prefix a little.
We are in 565.
Yeah. Meredith Musing said, I spent a couple of months watching baby barn owls grow up. Any kind of barn owl, or any kind of owl really, is also a favorite bird of mine.
Stefanodiscus carrascus.
I don't know if it's Caruscus. It's a
Stephanodiscus.
Stephanodiscus sp.
SP small.
Yeah, exactly. SP
You also
small.
found this one?
In the sample 7, which
Oh,
is
that's
the
very
center
pretty.
one.
This one.
I've been working a little bit this morning before you got here, before we streamed. So. Hoot House live stream. Oh, cool. Got it. I like owls. And barn owls are my favorite because they have really weird eyes. Like, they look like they're squinting all the time. Their eyes are kind of T-shaped, like on their face.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm also a birder, which Anna
Is
knows.
this something?
Chrysophyte, I think.
No.
It's small and round.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it has any holes.
Any pores?
Yeah, there's
This
a bunch
one
of
might, but
there's
I
a
don't
bunch of little things that I thought were chrysophytes, so I hope that's what they are. And it says V was just in California and met a great black-backed gull, and they are dog-sized jerks.
Oh my god.
A dog-sized gull. That's terrifying.
That's very scary.
Studio says, my artist name is after corvids, but yes, we have a ton of crows in the Pacific Northwest, and they are lovable jerks.
They are not lovable.
You don't like crows? Do you know...
Terre Haute is full of furs.
this is what happens every November. and I just call it Crowvember
It's
because
terrible.
they flock to Terre Haute. The crows flock to Terre Haute.
Why? Why?
I
What's
don't
in
know
Terre Haute
why,
that they like?
but every November they they just come in mass,
And
like
they stay.
thousands of crows in my neighborhood, and um, I think it's really cool. A lot of times in the morning or sometimes right at in the evening, um, as it's turning sort of darker.
Yeah, they are very
They'll
active.
migrate and they migrate to the field in the school that's near where I live.
Uh,
And I've gone over there with my phone or with my camera, and it's just like the entire field is covered with crows. And then they'll like some of them will get disturbed, and there'll just be like a part of them that goes up and sort of circles around. There are just so many of them, and I think it's cool,
I
but
don't.
you don't like them.
There's too many of them, and they are very loud, and they are very not friendly.
You don't think they're friendly?
I don't think so.
The crows that are in my neighborhood, one of them will sit on top of our house, and they are the watch guard. They will tell the other crows. They'll be like in the road or in the yards
Uh-huh.
looking for food, and one of them sits up there, and basically calls out when I get close,
Uh,
and then they'll all move up into the trees. They're very very clever.
does something eat your fish?
Something does eat the koi fish that I have, but it's just goldfish in there right now. But I don't think crows do that. I think it's
No,
most
I
like
was thinking maybe a hawk or something.
probably raccoons.
Raccoons, they fish?
Yeah, they'll fish.
Oh my god. Okay.
The little trash pandas are probably responsible, and it could be, it's probably not a hawk. It could be like, sometimes herrings will find those, and then they'll just be like, nyap, 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 and they'll just eat everything.
Oh my god.
Um, but it's probably a raccoon that eats my
They
fish.
have thumbs.
They're, they're also very clever.
Yes.
So. Chrysophytes, sorry, microbe guru. Chrysophytes, when they make the stomatocyst, don't have any scale. The outside of the chrysophyte cyst can be perfectly smooth, or they can be heavily ornamented. They can have little whorls. They can have all kinds of spines and things sticking out of them, but you won't be able to see any sort of a scale on them. When they're in their living conditions, when they're crawling around, they're not encysted, then yeah, they have scales, and we can sometimes find the little
The
silica
scales.
scales that are separated when they die, they disarticulate. But more commonly, we find the stomatocyst, which is, the thing that they climb into. It looks like a little Christmas ornament, basically.
Is this like a lindavia or something? What is
That's a
this?
lindavia. I'm calling it CF radiosa. It's not radiosa. And actually, I'm not completely convinced it's a lindavia because the rumuportula is actually located where it shouldn't be.
Ah, this is
Uh,
one of those weird ones that you had
Do
told
you
me
find the
about.
rumuportula?
Not on the.
So if it's a lindavia, the rumuportula, can you scroll up?
Can
Or is
I?
this
Ah, yes.
Yeah, okay. So if it's a lindavia, the rumuportula should be on the valve face.
Somewhere here.
Yes. And I don't see one there.
Yeah, I don't see one there.
And in fact, I think that it's over here.
How can I?
You can just move this or
Okay.
that.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
think maybe this might be it. Or it's under some clay. But see where it is? It's way out on the margin.
Mm-hmm.
That's not where it's supposed to be. Some lindavia do have them out on the margin. But it's probably not radiosa. It doesn't have an annulus. It's missing the central part, but it's in the lindavia kind of group. And so I don't know exactly where it belongs. Kind of close to lindavia, but not quite.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Dr. Derp, how's it going? Let's see. Crow fledgling season here is dangerous. You need to bribe them. I mean, at least they're not stealing the food out of your hand, right? Like, that's what happens with The gulls.
The gulls.
They'll just swoop down and steal your sandwich and your French fries and whatever else, right? They get really aggressive.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
did
what
not
happens
know
with the
that.
crows there?
No, but the first time I was in New York, we went to the beach.
Did they take your food?
Yes, they did. We didn't know that. No one told us.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah, where there's people and they feed them, they get really aggressive. So
They will chase you. It's
yeah.
very
They
scary.
they will sneak attack your food and just take it right out of your hand. They're like sucker. Hooded crows in Europe don't that let's see, in Europe don't that crowding into towns. I don't know, I can understand that exactly, but I tried to ask local birders if all American crows do that, and they were surprised that not all crows do that. Yeah, so I mean, at least where we are, they just flock, and then you'll find like a tree in a neighborhood that's just like instead of leaves, there's crows. Like every branch is covered with a crow, and
There's
if
just
you
so
happen to have
many.
parked under it, that's
Oh, you're
unfortunate.
done.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because it's usually just like your whole car is a pile of crow.
I've
feces.
seen some cars in bad
Yeah.
situations this past week.
My in bad situations. My a former student who was in my lab had someone who mistook their car for somebody else's, he thinks, and they threw a bunch of ham on the car in order to the crows to come down and to like poop all over his car. And he was like, what did I do? So they mistakenly like threw stuff on his car thinking it was somebody else's, but he
my
came out and he was
God.
like, why is there ham on my car? And then like just covered with bird crap.
Oh my god. That's terrible.
You definitely didn't just crawl out of bed, Dr. Derp. Well, that's good. um, yeah, so there can be some shenanigans. What did we find?
I think a baby Alakosira or something.
It's an Alakasira, yeah. I don't know if it's a baby.
Well, it's small.
It's pretty old.
It's pretty small.
The smaller they get, the older they are, remember?
Yes.
So,
But it's baby sized.
it's baby-sized. Like, for this, we have to do this now. Use a little mouse wheel, make it small. So they can see it. All right, so you wanted to talk a little bit about your research at all? Or are we just talking about birds?
What does the public want?
What does the public want? We
Yeah.
must give them what they want.
Yeah.
Dr. Derp wants to know, what are we looking at?
We are looking at very, very, very old diatoms from. They're very old. The oldest I've worked
Well,
with.
Okay.
So.
If that's very old, then I have some stuff back there that's much older.
Well, like Pleistocene diatoms, I haven't gone beyond Holocene, so.
Yes, we're outside the realm of the Holocene, which has a boundary of around 11,000
11,000 years.
or so, plus or minus. And then, so what's the youngest in this set of samples?
I think the youngest is like, if it's not 11, it's 7.
7,000?
Yes.
Oh, so it might still be Holocene.
A part of it maybe.
Just a piece of it. Okay.
And then the oldest is like 36.
Yeah. So some ranging between like 10 and 30,000 or 40,000 if you'd like.
Yeah.
The age of them is actually part of the problem associated with
Ah,
the material, is that
Yeah.
people don't have good dates for a lot of the Wilson Creek Formation, and associated tephras and everything else are problematic. But roughly in that, in the realm of radiocarbon age dating, like less than 50,000 years. And can you tell them where Wilson Creek is?
it used to be one of the little streams that fed into Mono Lake in California. It's dead now.
The creek is dead.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
there's no water in there anymore, but that allows us to go into it.
Right. So where the creek was, it's dissected the landscape, and
Yeah,
now
it's
there's
like a huge canyon,
Yeah.
super tall, but there's trees now and everything in the middle.
Mhm.
But you have like these outcrops that are right there. So I heard they found a beaver fossil in the Wilson Creek Formation.
A beaver fossil.
Beaver fossil.
Is it teeth?
I don't know what
Oh.
part of the beaver it was.
Anna says we should talk about birds.
Birds it is.
So we're looking at stuff with a scanning electron microscope, as we often do, on Wednesday in particular. And these samples aren't just some random stuff that we threw on the microscope. This is actually part of both my research and Laura's research. We've been trying to get a handle on Stephanodiscus clamathensis and its relationship with Stephanodiscus caruscus. These are two very, very closely related diatoms. And the diatom Stephanodiscus caruscus occurs in June Lake and in Gull Lake, and potentially some of the other lakes in the basin, and potentially Mono Lake. We're not sure yet. But at some point in the past, Gull and June may have been connected, and probably were. And then it's a question mark whether they ever directly connected to Mono Lake, but they're definitely upstream of it.
They
And-
feed into.
Yeah, and they definitely would have fed into Silver Lake, which then ultimately feeds into Mono Lake. It's possible that under some very older conditions they might have been completely connected, but it's a question mark because of where the sill is for the basin. So, which should be, at least in theory, a little bit lower than the connection between the Horseshoe Valley, where June and Gull and Silver and what's that other one, Grant or something?
It's silver, yes, Grant, but I think Grant is like artificial.
Yeah, it's a reservoir. Studio says, I do not think Mono Lake was connected, but I do not have proof of this.
Well, neither do we, so.
Boba wants to know, did we ever scan a bird feather? We definitely did. We've had bird feathers. I had a blue jay feather that was from my yard. And I think one time, maybe Mallory collected something that I thought was a robin feather. And then images of those can be found on the Instagram for the lab page. So the top one, not the bottom one. If you want to look at actual birds, you could look at the bottom link, which is my Instagram for my photography. But for the feather, we definitely put pictures of that. I've colorized them, and it might show up in the slideshow that's beneath us occasionally. I don't remember what I put in there, and I change it frequently. So, but we've definitely looked at bird feathers, and they're kind of interesting because feathers, of course, have these really sort of fine plumage that's even finer when you get zoomed in on it, and they capture things like pollen, and so we've seen pollen in the bird feathers and like fungal spores and all kinds of other characteristics of things that get trapped in the feathers. I think it's another chrysophyte cyst.
But up here, I think we had some things.
Looks like an Oligocyra again. And this one looks like maybe that Lindavia. Oh no, it's the little Steph. It's not a very good one.
No, it's a little bit destroyed.
I need to find hummingbird feathers. They're supposed to be somewhat different, all the iridescence. One time when I was at my father-in-law's house here in Terre Haute, there was a dead hummingbird I don't know what happened to it. It died before we got there. But I found it, and I thought, oh, this would be neat to put some of this stuff in the SEM. But my daughter was there, and she was sort of paying attention to what I was doing because we were outside, and I didn't want her to see it. So I just moved it someplace she wouldn't find it, and then I didn't get back to it in time to actually rescue any feathers or anything. But I didn't want my daughter to see it because I figured she would get heartbroken, you know. It's some sort of a gomphanema.
Well, but I'm not seeing the...
Rheucosphenia. No? Can you zoom in on the bottom part?
This part?
The foot pole, yes. I think it's Rheucosphenia. That's my guess. But you should get a picture of it.
Yes,
and
we will rotate it.
Rotate it around, please.
I was going to rotate but I don't know.
It could be Gomphocynica, except for I don't see a stigma. And you zoomed out. Yeah, it just moved a little bit. I didn't see a stigma at all.
No, I didn't.
And no stigma to me means that it either has to be Gomphanella or Rheucosphenia. And my guess is that it's Rheucosphenia, largely based on the fact that it's very rounded on the valve face. Also, that happens with Gomphanella, but it doesn't have any break in the central striae, and that's a characteristic of Gomphanella. So it's in the Gomphanema group. I'm pretty sure it's Rheucosphenia. And I looked at a lot of Rheucosphenias recently, so that's the other reason why I was like... we just discussed Rheucosphenia in the diatom taxonomy class that I'm teaching. And it's different than the one that shows up in Laura's specimens, but she has as an assignment for this week, right?
Yeah.
That's your assigned genus.
Haven't gotten to it yet.
No?
No.
But Gomphocynica would have been a good guess. Any of the Gomphanema group would have been a good guess, honestly. As a starting point, it's just that I think it needs to be rotated a little bit more. You got like 10 more degrees you need to
10?
subtract. Yeah, 10. Minus 10 from where it is.
So 35?
Yeah.
10 is a lot. Okay, it worked.
I like how you were skeptical of my 10 degrees. Really?
It sounded like a lot.
10 degrees?
10 degrees.
Was I right?
Yes.
Okay. We should have contests.
No.
Yeah, I think that would be great. Try to figure out who could get closest to the actual degree that it should be rotated. And then, and people could compete with me. Seems how it's a thing I've been doing for the SEM all the time. You gotta shrink it just like a little so it fits over top of the other image. Like that. See, this sort of slightly new format has
okay. I see.
So if you just have it in the picture frame,
Yeah.
it'll fit. Hello, Pacific Plankton. How are you doing? You are excused. Definitely a ruby-throated hummingbird, because we don't have anything else in Indiana. As far as I know, unless it's migrating, I've never seen anything but the ruby throats here. Let's see. You had a mad rush to get COVID test for your son, and the test was negative. Well, your son's vaccinated, right? So probably it's going to be negative. And so you're all relaxing. Good. Is that a stigma in the middle? I don't think so. I think what it has is a series of sort of slightly dilated or larger areolae that are rimming around the center on both sides, but I didn't see like a clear...
Proper stigma?
A proper stigma, right. So... Oh, your little one just got their first shot. So did Sylvia. Sylvia got her her vaccine shot on Sunday. Yeah, I don't think those holes in the middle are
They're
stigma.
not, I don't think so.
And if it's a gumphonema, that has to be, the stigma will be on one side or the other. It will be on the dorsal side, which is very difficult to tell with a gumphonema, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that's seborrheic. Now that I've looked at it a little bit more, I'm completely convinced. What about you?
I think it has to be because I don't know what else it could
Exactly. Has to be.
be. It's just very pretty.
It is very pretty. Not bad for 10,000 years old or whatever it is.
No.
So I have a question for you. The number system that the samples are in, were they numbered from the bottom to the top or from the top to the bottom?
So the oldest are the smaller numbers, and as you go up, so it's height on the,
From the bottom to the top.
yeah, it's height on the outcrop.
This is sample 1, so 5 meters, almost 6 meters up
Yeah.
from the bottom.
So these are the top samples.
Right, so
As
these
we
are
go
going
down,
to
the
be
numbers go smaller.
The youngest samples.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, see the base where the
news,
foot pole
everyone.
is? That's a Reucosphenia foot pole. Absolutely.
Cool.
There you go. Pacific Plankton gave a little guide for Reucosphenia. Let's see. We've got a new follow from O'Haru. Thank you for the follow. There was a lot of extra vowels in there. That wasn't just me being weird. You see how good Laura is at the SEM now? She just controls it. She doesn't even think about it anymore. I remember like sometime in the spring when we were doing streams where she was just learning how to use it. She just swoops right in now and it's like doesn't even think about it. I don't think you've even used the SEM for like
For a while.
months. It's been a while.
I think this semester just once.
Yeah. Sometime at the beginning we did
Yeah.
a couple of sessions, I think. And that was it. It's been lonely in here. It's because you have lab during my
Yeah.
normal streaming time.
Mm.
Pack's going crazy. She's throwing out glossary terms for people with links and just having a grand old time with it. Gotta get your hands on an SEM? Is that what you mean, Ariel? Pepsi, yeah, unfortunately.
I don't know, this is the inside.
That's what we have on campus.
I'm not taking a picture.
I don't think we need a picture of it. It's at a weird angle.
Yeah.
It's hard to even tell what it is.
And it's upside down.
I think it's a star anise.
Broken.
That's a little bit of a Caruscus, but it's not the part we need to see.
Yeah.
So if this is near the top, this very likely could be Caruscus.
Like proper Caruscus?
Proper Caruscus, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
But I will tell you, I saw one when I was scanning around earlier. I wasn't on this particular stub, but I was scanning around earlier, and I saw one that was Clamathensis
Ooh.
with valve-face photoportula, and there were 2 of them, and they were in the middle, which is where they're supposed to be for it. And I was
Okay.
like, that's Clamathensis. But I haven't found any of the ones that I think are Caruscus where I could see
The inside?
the valve-face photoportula, or where they would be or what they are. So, I mean, whether there are any there at all. So, that's part of our quest for today, is to try to see if we can find something that looks like Caruscus but has valve-face photoportula, and whether or not we see something that looks like Caruscus but actually is Caruscus. So, it's a mission. A lot of times with the scanning electron microscope, that's what we do, is just like when we're doing actual research, is just like looking for things, like searching. So it's a lot of basically just scrolling
Looking
through
around.
a bunch of different kinds of materials and trying to see what we can find, and hopefully there's not junk on top of it or dissolved like that one is, and that we can get a nice clean view of what we need to see. That looks like that little radiosa-like thing that we saw earlier.
This one?
Yeah, or
But
maybe
it's-
it's something else even. It's a Lindavia.
Yeah, but it doesn't.
Lindavioid.
Well, take a picture, but it's not a very good specimen.
It's missing the entire striated
Yeah.
area.
No, I don't want it. This one is the Leucocyra, but I think it's covered as
It's
well.
Anolocosira. I don't know if it's the same one we saw. Yes, the diatoms taste like Smarties, but only if you have a lot of them. And also if you don't have Smarties as a reference. Thank you for sending out the shout out for Boba. I saw that Boba Binks was playing like hardcore, I want to say Minecraft the other day.
Minecraft?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what he was playing. And sometimes he draws for Anna, since you like birds. Yeah, hardcore Minecraft. I know Bulba draws birds a lot. I see that most of his streams he's drawing. He's doing like pencil sketches of birds from photos. I don't have a ton of time for gaming, but right now I'm playing Hollow Knight, so I'm working my way through that, and it's like hardcore no matter whether you want it or not hardcore. I think there's a hardcore mode when you finish the normal mode, but I don't really need it to be ramped up to a higher level of difficulty than it is. It's extremely difficult to start with. That is a Stephanodiscus. It is the valve face. The mantle's been removed
Yeah.
through dissolution, and it looks like maybe it belongs to that group. Can you zoom in? Do we see any valve face photoportula? Or little satellite pore like? I don't see any. I don't see anything that looks like it is a valve face photoportula.
No.
But we don't have the whole thing. So
But I'm taking a picture.
you're gonna take a picture?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, the hard mode is basically Anna wants to know why you're taking a picture of that.
It's pretty.
She likes it.
Yeah.
Pacific would not be good in that mode. She dies a lot when she plays Minecraft.
I don't play video games. I would die in any game.
Would you? Don't have the hand-eye coordination?
No. No, not really. Not for me.
Well, sometimes I just need to like disassociate with living things for a little while. Often when I get home, I'm just like done with people for a bit.
Then you need to.
So
Have alone
have
time?
to do a little bit of like, either I'm gonna work a little bit, or if I'm exhausted, then I just want to play a little bit, but I don't want to be like, I need to decompress.
Yeah.
So, especially on days when there's a lot of drama, you know?
Like lately.
Some recent days have had some drama.
Unnecessary one also.
Unnecessary drama. And then I just want to get away from it all. Like, done with it.
Yeah.
I don't want drama. So, do students try your patience? Some of them do. Some of them do regularly. Most of them don't. Most of them, I feel like, students are just, trying to do their best. Not bothered by most of them. Some days, though. Sometimes it's not the students. Sometimes it's like my fellow faculty members or administrators.
Life.
Life. Work life. Done with people, yeah. It looks like it's been eaten at least twice.
Probably.
Well, gradually being eaten by Earth. Yeah, Pacific dies a lot in all of the games that we play. I think I went through, we were playing Valheim together, and I think I went, for the first, I don't know, I played for a month and didn't die even once. And then eventually it caught up with me. But I might as well have been in hard mode at that point. But I also try to be practical, make good decisions. So, and sometimes Pacific just likes to go venture out on her own into the wildness, and then get stuck out there. Add extra drama for elected officials, I'm sure.
Everything's dissolved.
Yeah, why did you make it all dissolved? Why did you get us some samples that weren't dissolved, Laura?
Sorry.
Does academic bureaucracy try it more? Well, they both do, honestly. There's a lot of bureaucracy in what I do. Most of the time, everybody is wise enough to leave me alone. Everywhere. They just don't engage with me. So I can do my research, mentor students, teach my classes, get things done. And it's just occasionally they feel like they have to just destroy everything. That you like about your job, right? It's a little tiny stuff.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. Hard to say what that is.
Yeah, I don't know. A very small thing.
It's not going to work out very well.
No.
That's an SEM photo. This sample has a lot more material on it than most of the other ones in terms of all the other particles. One of the things I think you should probably talk about is how we got these samples. And then how we got these samples with just with the diatoms extracted. Because those are two different sort of stories.
Yes, everything is an adventure with these samples.
Little tiny guy.
Yeah, but that's a girdle band?
I think it's the Alicosira laying on its face. Not
thought
positive.
it was a tiny, tiny Lindavia, but no.
It might be, but I think it's just laying on its face. Alicosira. Extra drama for pandemic, too close to call elections, and a terrorist attack. All those things have a lot of drama. Well, what are we talking about? Did we get a book? Oh, you started a book all about love by Bell Hooks. You're only one chapter in. It's been so long since I read a book, like an actual book that wasn't like science literature. I'm hoping that winter break will give me an opportunity to do some reading, maybe Thanksgiving break even. So I might try to see if I can find stuff. I think Carlin just started like some sort of Kindle program where they have thousands of books that you can just download for free.
I have good book recommendations if you're interested.
You have good book recommendations.
Yes.
For chat or for me?
For what's your interest?
Well, maybe you should tell us what they are first, and then we can decide whether we like it.
Well, what kind of literature? Because I read a little bit of like
That looks like Karuskus in the background.
this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't it look just basically like like this thing?
Yes.
Somebody put a quarter in there.
Leave it.
Save it for an emergency.
Yeah.
If I reach the point where I need a quarter out of emergency, it's usually a bad sign. What is your book choice?
Well, I am reading One River by Wade Davis.
One River.
Yes.
By who?
Wade Davis.
Wade Davis.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's a very nice book. It's a mix of the biography of Richard Evans Schultes, which he was a very famous botanist in Colombia. He was a botanist from Harvard, and he did most of his work in the Colombian Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the river follows the 12 years he spent on the Amazon.
That's cool.
It is very cool.
Sounds like a biography.
Well, it's more of a
Documentary
story.
kind of. Oh, it's more like narrative?
It's like they're telling you the story,
Mhm.
so it's like kind of a,
Historical.
yeah, I don't know, it's very nice, and I really like it. I'm almost done with it.
Did you buy it?
Yeah.
Is it a digital book or an
No,
actual book?
it's an actual book.
Studio says, I just started Microbia, a journey into the unseen world around you.
Wow.
Anna says, for One River on Goodreads, it says, the story of 2 generations of scientific explorers in South America. Richard Evans Schultes and his protege Wade Davis, an epic tale of adventure and a compelling work of natural history.
Yes.
And Pacific Plankton said, The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. Is that your recommendation for me, Pacific? Have I read it? No. I do like the fraction of a death, though. That's 7.5. It's very specific. Good to know. Fractional deaths are good, yes. I like to keep mine as fraction as long as I can. Once it reaches a whole number, I'm in trouble.
Yes.
You found us a side view of our Stephanodiscus
Yes.
of interest. It may be Caruscus, it may be Clamatensis. And
We
then,
need the inside.
Yeah, we need to be able to see the inside, which we haven't seen yet. Whole number deaths are overrated. Yeah.
Good
I don't want
news,
to take
everyone.
a power down nap yet. I'm not ready for it. Thank you for the follow. Refertiflo. I think maybe they're saying that Rafferty, Florida or something like that.
There's very hard names on Twitch.
I just like to say them the way that they appear, even if I know what they're trying to say,
Ah.
as a form of humor. If I were one of those things where they translate text to speech and I was the speaking thing, then I like to say it like I'm one of those.
Mm-hmm. That's a good approach.
Yeah. It's a cool little diatom.
Very small.
It is pretty small. I don't know about very small.
It's
That's still
small.
25 microns across.
Smally.
20 maybe. Basically the way you read everything. Well, you know. When I lived in DC, so for many years I worked at the USGS and in Reston, Virginia. I drove around in DC all the time. You'd get stuck in traffic a lot. Like that's basically, I don't know, 50% of the time I was there, I was probably sitting in traffic somewhere. And the if the car in front of me had a license plate where they tried to do something clever, like, you know, spell something clever or say something clever or use the numbers and letters to, you know, personalize license plates. I refer to that as being in the penalty box, because now I'm forced to sit behind this car for like 45 minutes staring at somebody who's named their car Spicy D or something like that. And I'm like, oh boy. You got nowhere to go, and then you got to stare at Spicy D on a license plate the whole time. What did you find us? Look at that.
Another one, right?
It's Ricusphenia again.
A little dissolved on this side.
DC traffic could stop the universe from expanding. It's a place, and the traffic is a thing. I used to come home from, we'd go see a band play at a show, you know, in a club in DC. In downtown DC. We'd drive home 2 in the morning, traffic jam. 2 in the morning. I would be like, how is this possible? It's 2 in the morning. I'm nowhere near the concert or anything, just traffic jam. Didn't matter what time of day it was. It's the thing that they do best. Traffic jam. It's a different Ricusphenia. Yes, I think it probably was. It was a little smaller, but it was also highly dissolved.
Yes.
Be stuck behind the oldest Ford 150 burning a pint of oil that has a load of trash bags. One time, and I mean literally one time, we were in traffic jam in DC, and I was like, okay, I will accept that this one is reasonable. We had been sitting in a line on some little country road in the middle of nowhere, leading towards the city, for like an hour, and the traffic was moving, just like inching along. And I'm like, how is this possible? We're in the middle of nowhere. And when we finally got up to the intersection, which was creating the problem, there was a helicopter parked on the highway and a car that had flipped over. And I was like, okay, for once, I will accept that's a reason for me to be stuck in traffic. Every other time, it was like there was a person driving over a bridge and was staring at the water, a person changing their tire. There was nothing happening. I'd get to the traffic jam, I'd be like, what's this? There's like a traffic jam because somebody's changing their tire? Who wants to watch that? Somebody in DC wants to watch it enough to slow down. If we land at 7 a.m., we may not make it to the embassy before 10. Are you going to DC? I don't know if they've connected the Dulles International Airport to all the way to the metro. It was almost connected last time I was there. It was maybe like 3 stops away from it. And I thought, wow, when that happens, it's going to cut down on the traffic a lot. But the last time I was in DC was a year ago, or 2 years ago, I guess. Maybe it was 3 years ago. Yeah. If you're going into Reagan, you'll be fine. Yeah. If you're inside the city, generally, you can get around in DC pretty easily. It's like when you try to leave the city. That is a Stephanodiscus, but that belongs to the Niagara group.
This one is
You can
pretty
take a
and
picture
it's
of
not
it.
very dissolved. So
Yeah, go ahead and take a picture. And if Anna doesn't like it, that's too bad. It's slightly better condition than the last one anyway.
Yes. Wrong way. No, wrong way.
You have to go do mom stuff, okay. Well, you know, Pacific, I can control the moderation because Laura's running the SEM, so thanks for hanging out with us. Have fun being mom. The connection is still not done, okay. I mean, it didn't seem like it should take that long to connect it if it was just like, I think it was 3 years ago I was there. They had connected up Reston and the next one up from Reston. I think there's only like 2 more exits before you get to the actual airport. You'll catch it on the VOD later. Okay. I don't think I've uploaded any of my stuff to YouTube in a while to archive it, but probably need to do that. There's a little
It has a baby
Stephanodiscus.
one, yes.
Yeah, there's a little Stephanodiscus valve face on your Stephanodiscus valve face.
Yeah.
It's a Stephanodiscus inception.
Yes.
Are you excited for this semester to be over?
Yes.
You ready for Thanksgiving break?
Yes.
I feel the same way about both of those. Actually, this hasn't been a very difficult semester for me. Like, classes are really light for me, but I have a whole bunch of administrative stuff, and then personnel things.
It was
know.
just very busy for
Yeah,
me, so it
busy.
flew by like I didn't even notice.
That's the way it never slows down. You
I
realize.
know, and I'm
Doesn't
scared
get any better
because
when you get older.
I only have 1 year left, and it doesn't seem
You're
enough.
gonna be gone before long.
Like if it goes as fast as this one did, wow.
I'm gonna blink, and then I'll be like, "It was nice having Laura in the lab."
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a lot of time. I need more time.
Well, you have that as an option, you know. You could apply for more time.
I just want to slow it down though, so I can take my time and do my things.
I don't think that it comes with that option.
Yeah, I know.
Everything's just in a rapid pace.
Yes. Very rapid pace.
We just try to make the most of it, I guess.
I know.
Let's see. Noob here, are you looking for these manually? Wouldn't some type of object recognition software speed things up? People ask me about object recognition software all the time, VR gamer, but I would have to spend a lot of time programming the object recognition to recognize the thing that I want.
Niagara.
G-A-R-A-E.
Gray? No.
G-A-R.
G.
A-R.
A-R.
A-E.
A-E.
Yeah.
Niagara.
And then on top of that, the difference between the objects that I want and the objects that we're searching for are very subtle. And then additionally, I don't have a ooh, very nice.
Very pretty.
I don't have a automatic software on the actual SEM that moves things around such that we could search for things automatically, and it would cost a lot of money to install one of those or to integrate the software into the existing software. And I think it doesn't really help to have that software I mean, I feel like it's a lot of work for what I want to do, which is like look for one organism one time on the SEM.
Yeah.
I would rather spend my 4 hours on the SEM than spend all of that money and all of that time just to do this sort of thing once. And then to have to reprogram it and redo everything every time I was looking for something different. Um, I just feel like a lot of times, not only is it just finding it, but even the ability to focus on what I need to see is not something that I could program a computer to do. So, for example, I need to look for very specific aspects of the ultrastructure, and even the autofocus on the SEM can't figure out which thing I want to focus on, which thing I need to focus on, and it differs for each thing that we look at. So, while what you're saying is absolutely possible, it's not practical. And in fact, doing it by hand and actually looking through things is actually probably less time consuming and definitely less expensive than what you're suggesting. In addition to that, the approach that you're suggesting would require it to move through each part of the stub, manually scanning each component, even components that basically have no value, which means that the SEM would have to be running for a very long time to do that. And the cost of running the SEM for that long would be more expensive than probably what we're doing, which is just using our eye, going, there's a thing that looks interesting, and then zooming in on it. So, I mean, all of those things combined suggest that that's kind of like not a very helpful procedure. But that being said, what you're suggesting to do isn't a terrible idea. If you had a very simple recognition and you were just trying to get to find one of them, or to take like a very low resolution picture, and you didn't care about certain aspects of it, most of what we're doing here is sort of taxonomy and trying to figure out what aspects separate one thing from another thing. It might be interesting to see how well artificial intelligence could handle mostly dissolved diatoms versus partially
Oh, I don't
dissolved
think it
diatoms versus
can.
completely whole diatoms. I think it would be very challenging because the margins would all be different, but some aspects of them might be the same. And so it might be interesting to see whether it can figure out things based on partially preserved material.
I've thought about like machine learning for counting,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it would only be good for genera. Like
Yeah, at the genus level,
it
it'd probably
could
be.
tell you it's Stephanodiscus, but not which one.
But I
I
think if it
think.
had something like this, it probably would have a very hard time figuring out what genus it even belonged in. Because I have a hard time figuring out what genus it belongs in.
Yeah, I don't know.
You must run. All right. Well, thank you for hanging out with us, Meredith. And hopefully we saw some cool things. We'll take some of these images and probably turn them into Instagram posts later.
What do I name this one?
Lindavia with a SP. That's where I am. I don't know. I don't see anything to help.
It's specific enough. It's just
I don't
very
even
pretty.
see. I mean, it might not even be Lindavia. I don't know what
Because
we're
these
looking at.
ridges are very confusing
To
to
be
me.
honest,
like
it
this,
doesn't have
this part.
Rimiportula that I can see. I don't see any holes for the Rimiportula around the outside, so it could be a Cyclotella.
Oh.
I don't know what that is. It's very weird. It's also partially dissolved, so
It's
I think that
pretty,
we're looking
so-
a little bit at the internal structure on some parts.
Very nice diatom.
It's crazy. Find us more like that.
I'll try.
I've got a cheap version of artificial intelligence that we can use to search through the SEM stubs in the form of Laura. I'm just sitting over here pointing at it, and I can just tell her, go find me one of those. And then she does. That's a Caruscus-like thing. Can you zoom in on that in the middle a little bit? I don't see valve-face photoportula. I mean, there's always junk on stuff, so... but I don't see anything that looks like it could be a valve-face photoportula. Okay, that's all I was looking for, to see if we could see, like, satellite pore structure through the exoskeleton, or the outside view. It's this cruscus-like thing.
Do you want a picture of this one?
No, I'm okay.
Too dissolved?
A little too dissolved.
So they dissolve because it's too alkaline?
Yeah. So Mono Lake today has a pH of
9.
9.
But it can go up to 10 or more, like it's...
It has been as high as, I think, recorded as 11 before in places at times. And so at pH 9, diatoms start to dissolve. In fact, in warm temperature and pH 9, I'm surprised any of the diatoms actually make it into preservation. But times in the past, the lake level was much higher.
So in this case, it was higher and less alkaline, a little bit at least.
And that's probably why the diatoms are preserved in part, but also groundwater is moving through, like this is a river basin. That little thing
This
again.
is the inside, no? The
I
little...
think that's a little Alakasira again. I think that's the same little Alakasira we saw before.
Really?
You can take a picture of it. It looks like a little tiny
like
hubcap.
the Lindavia one.
I don't think so, but oh, well, no, you're right. It's some sort of a cyclotella.
In here.
But I don't see a Rumiportula.
What if it's below here?
Well, it's not going to have a Rumiportula in the middle. Nothing has its Rumiportula there. That's not a place to put your Rumiportula.
You don't know.
You could lose it if you put it there. It has to have a Rumiportula. That's a requirement. There's no non-Rumiportula structure, right? Except for weird things like what Anna finds in the marine realm. It looks like it's surprised that its nose is dirty. It sounds like you're asking me to put googly eyes on it again. Mono Lake is intense. My friend wanted to swim, and I was like,
ooh,
nah.
no.
You should climb into the basic water. Probably not a good plan.
I would not do it.
It's not going to dissolve your bones or anything.
Well, but you'll get itchy for sure.
You will definitely get itchy. And if you drink it...
Oh, you die.
Yeah, it could kill you.
You
So,
die.
Not a good plan. It looks like it's surprised that its nose is dirty.
But when you're there, they have like pictures of people in it, and I didn't see anyone actually go into it. So I don't know if it's very good, I don't know, to attract people with people swimming in Mono Lake, and then you get there and it's like, no, you just know you're not supposed to be in there.
The smell is off-putting, yeah.
Yeah. And it's full of these flies, and it's like...
Yeah, I'm not sure what this is. Those are definitely alveolar chambers. And
These
those
ones?
are...
Or
no,
these
those
ones?
ones, yeah. Those are alveolar chambers.
And these
then
ones
those
are the
mantle
mantle.
photoportula. And there should be a Rumiportula somewhere around the margin. It could be hiding inside the alveolar chamber if it is a tertiarius, I guess. If we put a mustache on, what do you think? Regular mustache? The
Yes.
curly mustache?
Yes.
We'll just,
Oops.
It's locked. There we go.
There
There we
you
go. Like that? Now it looks like he's surprised.
Ooh, he looks French.
Let's see. We'll make his mustache much bigger.
Much bigger.
That's
So
nice.
he's more surprised.
Is he more surprised? The size of your mustache determines how surprised you
Well,
are.
it just makes the mouth look smaller,
That's
so
right.
you're more surprised.
Okay. I will stop interfering with our serious science for a second.
How do I call this one, tertiary?
I'll just call it cyclotella for now. until we can find a better view that doesn't have, where we can see the room of Portola. And then I'll go back and rename it. Massive swarms of flies. Yeah, that also doesn't seem like the sort of thing that I would want to go swimming in.
No, I went to Salt Lake City when I was like 11 or 12, and I just remember the flies. It's not fun.
Got to, well, at least if you're underwater, you could hide from them. But I feel like if the water's making you itchy and the flies are gonna land on
But
you,
you can't
it's a bad
really go
combination.
on. It's so dense that it's hard to.
You can't swim into it.
No.
Hi, Luke. They want to know, when was the first time that I saw an SEM? You mean like an SEM image, or do you mean like in live, in person? The first time I used an SEM was probably the first time I saw an SEM or close to it, was at the University of Nebraska. The year was probably 2002. I used a GEOL or Joel, JEOL, Joel, an really old SEM. At the time, I think it was probably 20 years old. And
This is not the one you have, right? You
I
have
don't have
like
a
a
picture of
small
that yet.
thing.
No, that's a Staracebrella.
Yeah.
Yes, the images were black and white back then too. Oh no, it's Punctus striata. I believe that is a Punctus striata.
That's very cool.
One end looks like it's
This one?
wider than the other.
Yeah.
It's very bizarre.
This one, but I don't know.
It's probably broken.
Yeah.
You know what would help?
A little bit. But like another
That's
10
10
degrees?
degrees, yeah, at
So
least.
like 25?
Yeah, 25. At least.
We'll
Yes.
see, we'll
That's
see.
it. The water itself is full of brine, shrimp, and algae. Yeah. It was really old SEM at the time. It used Polaroid to take the pictures rather than, yeah, that's definitely Punctus striata. It used the Polaroid camera to take pictures rather than, these are digital images that we get out of my scanning electron microscope. And in order to get the SEM to focus, everything was monochrome, so we had like a green and black screen monitor hooked up to a really old computer, and then in order to get the image contrast and brightness sort of close to where it needed to be, you had to do this thing. It would run like a little line around, and you had to basically try to get the line at the maximum height. It was very difficult to
Very
operate.
manual.
Everything was very manual. And then all the controls were on the actual SEM, so you had to hold your arm out like this. If you wanted to move, you had to like spin a knob for X, spin a knob for Y, spin a knob for... It didn't actually... You could rotate the stage too, so those are your three controls. But if you wanted to like turn something 10 degrees, you'd have to move it just a little bit and then shift X and Y to move it back into the middle, then move it just a little, because it was turning a whole plate, right? And so you had to do this thing where you would jaggedly move it around until you could basically turn it like, you know, a little piece at a time. It took a really long time to turn something. So like you only did it if it became super important. And then there was a tilt knob too. You could tilt the stage. But like we were told, never touch the tilt knob because you can easily destroy a scanning electron microscope if you smash things into the wrong place. And my wife and I, at the time, we weren't married, but we took an SEM class together. It was basically just me and her, and the guy who owned the SEM. And we would talk through all the sort of mechanics of it, and then he showed us how to use it. And then basically I was the main person who was using that old SEM for the longest time. It was just me me and my wife doing stuff in there, and then he would use it. He would sneak off into his little SEM room occasionally, and I think he's still there at Nebraska. But it was a very different experience, and like getting one picture that looked as nice as this would have been an achievement.
I imagine.
It would have been like, we got one that looks good, because you would go to take a picture and it would charge up immediately. It didn't matter how gold coated it was or whatever. It was all this like really manual control, and so but you would also, when you would go to take the image, it would expose the backside of this like Kodak paper, basically Polaroid paper, and so you would wait till the image was collected, and then you could take this thing up, and then you had to sit here and like rub it in your hand to warm up the chemical reaction to occur. You had to peel something and then like rub it in between your hands for like 5 minutes. So not only did it take like 10 minutes to collect the photo, but then on top of that,
you had to
sit there and rub the thing in your hand until the chemicals were warm and it was evenly distributed across the image. And then you could peel it back and then be like, oh, it was a bad picture, I've got to start over.
Oh no.
So, and then you ended up with like a little tiny picture that was this big, right? Like, it was maybe the size of my camera or something. And, I mean my phone. And then, I would say maybe 30 or 40% of them turned out. Most of them didn't turn out very good. You thought it looked good until you went to take the picture, and then something would be wrong with it, and then you'd have to load another thing of Polaroid in and do the whole process over again. It was very challenging to use. And then, oh, that looks like maybe that's that diatom again. A little bigger this time. Still can't see a rim of Portula. It's got junk on it.
Yeah, a little bit.
I don't know who put these samples together. This one's got a lot of junk on it.
I didn't rinse 2 of them, and then I gave the 4 of them a little rinse, but...
Hi, Artful Turkey. How are you doing? Welcome into the channel. At Artful Turkey. There you go. There's a little shout out. Artful Turkey is a artist, and they work together in Jay Renzella's community. He's a sort of friend of the channel. Also another artist who does wood carving.
Ooh.
And so if you're not... Oh, there it is. That's the whole diatom.
Yes.
They wanted to know if we were murdering diatoms, but unfortunately...
They're long dead, so...
Yeah, somebody somehow got to these diatoms before I could murder them and killed them. In this case, like, it's 12,000 years before I could get to them. So, I didn't murder these ones. We're on the case, though. We're going to figure out who did murder them. My guess is it's going to be gravity, probably, because it's plankton. Probably gravity killed them. They settled through the water column and then they got out of the water column.
I was going to say salt.
Could be salt. Also a possibility. 30% of them had a thumb on the corner of the image. Yeah, it was just the 2 of us. Nobody else was interested in it. And the guy, for Anna, the guy who taught us how to use the SEM was, he studied nanofossils. So he needed the SEM to do a lot of his work. But, so it was, he did it, and then he was surprised we wanted to learn how to use it. And I was like, are you kidding me? I definitely want to learn how to use one of these. But yeah, so it was just really the 2 of us in that, like a little self-taught class, basically, that he gave us. And then both of us were diatom people. And I don't know that he even, like, I don't remember him having a lot of students while I was there. I think maybe he had 1, and they could also use the SEM. but there was nobody else in line to use it. So that's kind of a nice feature. Do you see right here?
Yes.
That's the rim of Portula, I believe. It's a little hole where the rim of Portula would go. You see where it is? It's like way off of the valve face, up
Yeah.
tucked inside.
Almost on the mantle.
Almost on the mantle. I think people would still count that as being on the valve face, and so this probably would be counted as a Lindavia, but it doesn't look like any Lindavia that I know of.
No.
It's a weird one. Kind of belongs in the Ocellata group, probably.
Because of the little holes?
Yeah, but it's not exactly Ocellata.
I have the same Ocellata that's not Ocellata in gold.
This one? Oh, the same
No,
one that's in
in June.
Yeah, okay. Murder, killing, the worst kind. What is visually stunning? Oh, visually stunning is the, well, you could click on it and find out. It's, you can basically get anything from any of my diatom images that I've colorized, or photos that I have in the stream, or whatever, and then I will send it to you in super high resolution. And then by super high resolution, I mean that the image will be like monster size. Like you could turn it into a puzzle if you wanted, or you could print it as a poster. I have software that will make the images, expand them up to 25 times their actual size. And they already start off at 1280 by 1280, so 25 times that without really losing any of the quality. So we could definitely make it big enough that if you wanted to print it as a poster, you could, and then I'll just give you a link to it. And of course, you probably could get any of those from me anyway, Anna, but if you just wanted to spend your points on something, then you just need to tell me what it is you want me to give you. It can be one of these little things that goes scrolling by in the slideshow, or pictures from my Instagram page, or the lab's Instagram page, or whatever. One of Sylvia's drawings, although probably you don't need one of those at a poster size. You know, if you wanted to have a nice image, but you didn't want to just try to take a crappy screenshot of something that's rolling by. So. This one goes into the diatoms with faces folder. Yeah. Well, I don't know if we have a folder like that, but we could make one. Especially if we put mustaches on them.
They look very cute.
Some
There's
of them
a
look
lot
cute
of
even without.
chrysophytes in
Yeah,
these
there are.
samples.
A surprising number of chrysophytes. Do you want to jump to a different sample?
Yes, I think so.
Well, there's nobody restricting you. You know this, right? You're allowed to.
Yeah, let's spy at this one. Then we move.
Starocirella. Starocirella. Not even Puncta striata. That's Starocirella. Definitely needs to be brightened.
Yeah, it's too dark. These pieces are making it hard.
I agree.
I don't know. Do I want a picture of this one?
I don't know, do you? I don't think it's necessary.
No, I don't want it.
When we get to the point where are you going to count these samples? What are you planning on doing with them?
Well,
Besides what I want to do with them.
yeah, probably if they have enough. I have to see the ones that I have, but yeah. You already went through which one?
7.
7, so I can go to
3, 4, 5, or 6.
3. What's the lowest one? Number 6. Number 6.
Yeah, 6 is the farthest, the oldest. Artful Turkey says, my daughter is 4-year-old, and she said, who is that girl? Who is that girl?
That girl is a master's student here at Indiana State.
Look at that at the top.
This phytolith?
It's a phytolith.
I found the coolest phytolith today because it was still in the plant.
Mm-hmm.
It was amazing.
That
I
happens
took
a
a
lot.
picture. And the plant had the stomata and everything.
Was it charcoal?
I don't think so. It didn't look like that. It was on the Africa samples.
The girl's name is Laura for your 4-year-old daughter.
Yes.
We're not being intentionally obtuse. She's 4. She probably just wants to know what your name is. Laura is a ninja, that's why she wears a mask. Science ninja, though.
Science ninja.
Not the warrior kind.
I could be the warrior kind.
You just said earlier you don't have very good hand-eye coordination. I feel like giving you a sword would be a bad move.
Probably. Don't trust me.
I mean, I would trust you. The question is, would you trust yourself?
I don't think so. My aunt had an accident recently with a knife. She was cooking with her feet bare.
Oh, I thought you're going to stop right
Oh,
there.
no,
It was
no.
like she was cooking with her feet. I was like,
No.
your
Like,
aunt sounds special if she
didn't
can cook
have
with
any
her feet.
shoes on, and she dropped the knife, and it went into her finger like that.
Ow!
I know.
Wait, into her finger?
Toe.
Toe, okay. You confused me for a second.
We
there.
don't have different names for feet finger and hand finger in Spanish.
You don't have different names for feet fingers and hand fingers?
No, they're just fingers.
Oh my god. Luke, is this true? You have hand fingers and feet fingers? Give her throwing stars and a bow staff and she'll be fine. I feel like throwing stars might be even worse.
I have no aim. I cannot do it.
Then we might end up with some throwing stars in our toe fingers.
I'll just fight you with my hands.
Wait, in Russian you don't have a difference between fingers and toes?
No.
This is just like an American thing? We're the only people who separate fingers and toes
I
as
don't
different
know.
things? Microbe Guru says, aha, I knew you were a Spanish native speaker.
Yes.
But we do have a special word for the white part of the bread, and you don't.
The white part
Well,
of
we only name
bread?
the outside part, right? It's like the crust,
Uh-huh.
and then we don't have a name for like the white part.
And this is the
bread
Russian
part.
person?
Yeah, Anna. in
And I want to
Russian.
know the name.
What is the name for the white part of the bread, Anna?
I don't
They are
think
all
we
the
have
same
one in
thing,
Spanish.
anatomically absolutely the same. Fingers and toes? I feel like I don't have an opposable, like,
Thumb?
big toe.
But you can grab stuff with your feet as well.
When you cut off the crust, what are you left with? Bread.
Everything is bread. It's just crispy and
It's
fluffy.
there's a bread in the crust.
Just bread.
She says it's mayakish,
Oh.
if I can say that. Maybe I put the accent in the wrong place. It could be mayakish. She said not mayakish. Didn't I say mayakish?
I feel like there's more stuff in this sample.
I need a phonetic guide for Russian right now.
Oh, that's the inside.
Ooh.
That's the inside.
You found us something. You keep messing with it before it finishes drawing the part so I can see whether it has foul-faced photo portrait.
Sorry. I was trying to get
like,
it into focus.
Trying to see what's going on. You're like, I'm just going to tweak something. I'll tweak something else. Is it the same Stephanodiscus?
I don't know. Let's see the whole thing.
I don't see valve-face photoportula, but I also don't...
This is what it looks like.
It could be. It's not impossible.
It's not Kuroskas though.
I don't think so. Zoom in. Just a little.
Which part? Any part?
Just so I can see the middle. That's a valve-face photoportula.
This one?
Yep, right there. See how it's got two little holes around it? There's probably
Move
another
around
one.
a little
It's probably
bit.
Clamothensis. That would be my guess. Someone ate that diatom. Someone took a bite out of it. It does look like a cookie with a bite out of it.
Right here.
Y is a consonant, but YA is not. We don't have that sound. Well,
What sound?
make it sound kind of close. I don't know. She didn't like the way I said bread.
The thing?
The interior part of bread without the crust. The middle part of the bread, the pith of the bread.
The fluffy part.
The bread pith. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna go ahead and give it a name. That's one of the things I can do.
Just give it your own name.
Bread pith. So tomorrow, we're gonna go look at a convention center together.
Yes.
That's our plan.
2:30.
This time tomorrow,
Yes.
we will be checking out a place to see if we can house the next North American Diatom Symposium at it. And I'm hoping we can secure it and that we can make a decision and just go with it.
Well, this guy sounded very excited that I contacted him.
I bet he is.
So he was like, yes, please, let's meet. And I was like, okay.
Did you have to call him though?
No, I
that was in the
emailed
email?
someone else,
Hmm.
like higher in the rank. Like the first person I emailed, it was like very specific, like manager of something. I just emailed someone like higher, and then they contacted me with this person that we're meeting tomorrow.
Okay. And they seem enthusiastic about our potential to house a diatom meeting there.
Well, I didn't mention diatoms, but I said it was a scientific meeting.
Can you tell them how many people roughly?
No, I didn't
Oh, okay.
give like a lot of details.
Hey, Ram Sharif, thank you for the bits. Smallest on Twitch, largest in your heart. Yeah. We look at the littlest things, but we do it with the nicest smiles.
And mustaches.
And mustaches and googly eyes.
Yes.
So, this is Clamothensis, and this is the oldest sample.
Yes.
Huh, there we go. Now we just have to find the transition point where it switches from Clamothensis to...
Clama, like that? Or Kalama?
No, Klamath. Ensis, yeah. You got it.
I think I have this Clamathensis one in very specific samples in Gull Lake. And I
Really?
don't know where it came from
How
or
can you tell?
anything. I don't know, it didn't look like Carrasco's.
Really?
And it didn't look like, I also have like this very tiny Parvus one. It was big. So I don't know, I have to show it to you. But it's very low abundance. It doesn't show in the diagram, but it was there.
We were talking about you on Jay Renzella's stream the other night, how talented you are in multiple fields. Sometimes I can be talented, yeah. I have secret talents that people don't know about as well. Ooh, cool. Do you know this one?
Diplonis?
It's Diplonis, yeah. I'm just testing how good you know your diatom taxonomy.
I hope I've gotten better.
Well, hopefully the class has helped.
Yeah.
Subtle Tom's attack. Secretly, I'm also a musician, and I have all kinds of other hidden talents. John knows. He's seen I also can draw. So I have other artistic talents as well. Woodworking, drawing, music, science, photography. I don't know, what do you need for Renaissance Man? I think it was like 1 science and 4 arts or something like that. I think I got it covered.
Yeah, I think you're good.
Also write poetry, a hidden talent. And also, I don't just know one science. I'm like ecologist,
This one is
taxonomist,
multidisciplinary, yeah.
biology, geology. Nobody knows where to put me or what to do with me. It's hard to be a musician secretly. Well, I've managed to do it. Found this for the bread curious. The Oxford English Dictionary's meaning of 3a crumb, the inner part of the loaf, not hardened in baking. Do you hear that, Anna? We do have a name. We call it the crumb.
The crumb.
So there. Yeah, woodworking. I did a woodworking stream the other day where I made a kalimba. I
What
just
is
made the
that?
faceplate. A thumb piano. Have you ever seen those?
Yeah.
I have one in my house that I built, and then one that I brought back from Africa, and then I made one last Christmas 2 Christmases ago for my niece, who also is a musician, and then I bought some new keys a couple of weeks ago, and then I started. I have my friend Hannah Rebecca Music, who's a streamer. Let's see, Hannah Rebecca Music. She wrote a song about the diatom.
Yeah, you told me.
And I wanted to do something nice for her. Oh, thank you for more cheers, Ramsreef. You don't have to do that, but it's very kind. She wrote a song about diatoms and the stream in particular. And I was super flattered, and I thought I should do something nice, so I built her a kalimba. And I did parts of it on stream, like I did all of the wood cutting on stream, and then from my wood shop. And then I glued it together, routed it, sanded it, and I haven't finished it yet, in the sense that it doesn't have the coating over the outside, the protective coating. But then I put the hardware on, and basically I could play it. But she started streaming, and then I started streaming right after she started, so she couldn't see what I was doing. And then I finished with the whole kalimba while she was still streaming, and to the point where you could play it and it would make music. And then I took pictures of it and did a little video of me like making noise with it, and then sent that to her Discord while she was streaming, and I said, oh, I want you to check out this thing I made for you, so that she could well, it's not like a Christmas present, but like she could see what it was that I was doing. But I wanted to get it done before she had a chance to actually look at the video. So, because I talked about in the video that I was making it for her, so I was trying to like avoid revealing it in that for her. And at the end of my stream, we went and raided her channel. So it was like we moved from one to the next, and then I did the gluing and the sanding and routing and all the other things, and put on the hardware and basically got it ready to go while she was still streaming. So
Very cool.
this one is it Star
I think it's a baby pinata.
Yeah, Star
Look at it.
Cyrella. Oh wait, no, that's a Star Syra. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's Star Syra.
Mm-hmm.
I think you got it right the first time, Micro. My daughter asked if those pictures are a lizard breathing.
Or what?
A lizard breathing? I hope not. I don't know which picture you mean, though. There's some discussion about whether or not the crumb is the crumb. Do I know any diatom haikus? I probably could make one if I was not under a lot of pressure. It would have to be, away from stream, but maybe I'll come up with one for you. There was a diatom from Nantucket. That's not a haiku. Anyone can do anything. If you are good at it or not so much. Well, yeah. Stay open to new talents. That's what I do. I'm ready to learn to be good at something else, including trying to figure out a crumb is a small fragment of bread, cake, or cracker. If it's used for the inner part of bread as well, it's from desperation. What's the difference between Star Syra and Star Cyrella? In Star Syra, the striae are alternate, which these ones are, and the openings are small and like serial, which is the way these are. So this is like a series of small holes. They have a slightly sort of slightly parallel to the sternum appearance to the holes, but they're basically little openings, and they're not a big opening with a bunch of little slats over top of them, which is what it is for Star Cyrella. It's like a more of a depression on the valve face, and then on the outside, rather than having a series of little holes, it's like one big hole with like a whole bunch of little stripes across it. So it's primarily the nature of the opening that separates them. They both have like little tiny apical pore fields. They both have similar shapes and sizes, but it's the nature of the areolae. If they are one big opening with a bunch of little sort of like slats covering them, that would be Star Cyrella. And if it's a bunch of uniseriate holes, even if they are sort of dash-shaped, that it would be Star Syra. That is a really cool. I think it's an epithemia.
Dissolved.
Is it Frikia? There's also a big dissolved diatom right there. Yeah. I was playing around on this. I was looking around on this slide a little bit earlier. This stub. I looked through all of them a little bit before we started. I wanted to make sure there were diatoms on all of them. Also, if you go to the very margins of these stubs, the SPT chemical that I don't know what you guys use to float them. You didn't really talk about that yet.
No.
So these samples, I actually asked you to tell us how you collected them, and then tell us a little bit about the processing, because these have very interesting, very cool. You know what it is?
I'm not sure what it is.
It's all like a siren.
But like this.
Yeah, you're looking straight down on it from the top, the valve face. Yeah, those are the little spines around the outside that are, I think, probably separation spines for that species, but maybe not. But that would be a good thing to take a picture of.
Yeah.
Also, look what it's in.
Like this other stuff?
What is that other stuff?
Pinularia or
Pinularia.
something?
Yeah. If you zoomed in, from the zoomed in position, you can see that it's... Alveolate.
Yes.
Yeah. She's 4. She doesn't know either. Starocyrella pinnata was incredibly difficult to image with my line. It's difficult for everybody. All the little fragilarioids
thingies.
are
Oh my
usually a
God.
pain in the light microscope, and they're very difficult to distinguish for most people. And I probably would still be kind of bad at it if it wasn't for the combination of the fact that I have an SEM, and also most of the stuff that was in my wife's dissertation was a little fragilaria, and she got very good at it, and then as a result I got good at it because she was good at it, so she could identify them, and I was like, well, how can you tell? So we had
You
many
just know.
conversations about like how you tell the difference between them. Which is often the case with diatoms. You can be good at like groups, but maybe not good at everythin because there's a
Depends on
lot.
what you work with.
Yeah, so like Alicocera are really challenging, Stephanodiscus are really challenging, all of the little fragilarioids are really challenging, the gomphonemas are really challenging, Nitzias are crazy challenging. So like people tend to specialize in groups, but if you need to know all of them, because usually you work in lakes, you get
A little bit of
everything
everything.
in there. You have to kind of build up knowledge about how to separate things a little at a time. And it wasn't until I started getting lakes that had a bunch of Alicocera in it before I got good at identifying Alicocera. Before that, I was just like, I don't know, it's an Alicocera of some kind. So you have to kind of like get exposure to them.
Alicocera gives me nightmares. My undergrad work had a lot of it, and I just didn't enjoy it very much.
You didn't enjoy it,
No.
but then you thought, oh, I'm gonna go right back to it for my master's with somebody else.
Well, I didn't enjoy the Alicocera, miss, because I didn't know a lot about diatoms, and they all looked exactly the same, and I was like, oh my God.
That's racist.
Yeah, it was hard. But we got through it. Here we are.
Yeah.
It's good.
Now you're a pro. I can just ask you anything and you can tell
Oh,
me
I
what
don't
it is.
think so bad. I'll try and...
Diatoms attack. Are there databases of specific groups and stuff? It seems like a fun little exercise for image recognition AI. Well, you can always go to
Diatoms of North America.
Diatoms of North America. I think that's in this diatoms link. And they have images there, but they tend to only have about 7 to 10 images for each species, and they don't have SEM images of them. But if you wanted to have like a set of things to play with for image recognition, because I get this question a lot, I have tons of pictures of things that we have identified that I could send you, like, here's a library of things that are definitely this species, and here's another set of things which are different species that are kind of similar to it that belong in the same genus. And I probably have, like, for the species that I'm working on describing, like 5 new species from Africa of Afrosymbella, and for that group I probably could send you like 50 pictures from each species, or rather put a folder online or something that you could use to try to see how well it could separate those different species from each other. I suspect it's going to be very challenging for AI to do it. In most examples where people have used AI to try to identify diatoms, the highest success rates that I've seen, even if they're in the sort of upwards of like 80 to 90% getting it correct, which is pretty good. It's another Diplanese right there.
This one, but I'm hunting this molly one.
Do you know what that is?
I'm not sure.
This is a, I know the answer. It's from this week's lecture. That's why you don't know the answer yet. You haven't seen one.
This week's lecture.
Yeah.
What is it? Like kill diatoms?
What?
Kill diatoms?
Yeah, it's a kill. It's a kill diatom.
Yeah, I don't know. What's the first letter?
For Simbella is not a nightmare group. It's not a nightmare group because there's only 7 species or 12 species people have described. When I add 5 more, it's going to be pretty challenging, especially the 5 I'm about to add. You want me to tell you what the genus is?
No, the first letter.
Oh, it's G.
G.
Yeah. It's a G. It used to be an N, but now it's a G.
Just so Inocenetia?
Yep. It used to be Nitzia. It is no longer Nitzia.
It is a G.
It's a G. Secret, very small group of Nitzioid diatoms. And it's named after, I will help. It's named after a famous diatomist, one who described many, many, many diatoms. Does that help? You look at the authors much when you look at species.
Well, I can think of some common ones that are always popping up, but I can't recall.
Can you think of one that starts with a G?
Well, I don't know if I'm thinking of the correct one. Gruno or something?
That's actually the right answer. This is Grunauia.
No, I would have never known that.
It's used to be Nitzia. This one might actually be a species. This might actually be undescribed. But this is a Grunauia of some kind. I'm pretty sure.
How? What?
Oh,
How?
I'll open up the how.
Like,
How?
I don't see the shape to this.
I will show you. Let's see. Let's look at Grunauia. Here it is. It's like a Nitzia, but it has these big chambers on one side.
Yeah, I see now.
It used to be the Sinuata family of Nitzia.
So it's like similar to this one.
Very similar. Yep, you guessed it. We could be describing it. Let's see. G. Grunauia. There you go, for the rest of you. That's those big openings, the really big openings.
That's giving it away.
Mm-hmm. Does not occur.
I
on
would have
other-
been like, this is deformed. I don't know what it is.
It's a, you know what? Back in the day, people would say, you know, like, what genus don't you like? And I would be like, oh, I don't like Nitzia, except this set of things, which I think are very easy to identify.
Yeah.
And so when they separated from Nitzia, I was like, oh, thank God, now I can just tell people I don't like Nitzia.
In general.
I can go back to hating Nitzia. Or Nitzia. Yes. Grunau.
No.
Ia.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Grunauia.
These names.
It's probably an old name that got resurrected, is my guess. But
So small.
it's a little guy. It's got a very characteristic outline. And it's got those sort of bubbly looking holes in it. Don't hate on Nitzia.
I cannot defend it though. It's hard to defend it, yeah.
If you knew what Nitzia did to me, you would hate him too.
It's hard to defend it, honestly. Oh.
Slafra.
Mm.
That's my guess.
This one?
Yeah. Don't tell Anna, because she thinks I think everything is Slafra, but that...
No. Doesn't it have to have like one row of thingies?
It doesn't. Not anymore. That's definitely a Slafra.
So I need it this way.
If you want, yeah.
So I need to turn it
40
like 30.
degrees.
Okay. So let's try.
100.
I was gonna
95.
do 90, but it's
95.
too little. Now it's probably gone.
It's not very
Where is
gone.
it? There it
Oh
is.
my goodness, that Gus! Look at that angle!
Nice angle.
It's not a Slophera. I think it's a Slophera. I think it has a platform on the end. It has
But
a
does it
Slophera
have-
Rafie. I think it's a Slophera.
It doesn't have this hyaline area here.
That's on the outside.
On the inside
Canopia?
it has them, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a Slophera. Anna just wants to fight with me about it. I will accept it's not a Slophera if you can replace it with something with what it is.
I don't know.
There we go.
What's the name of the thing? Of
What
the
name did they name the
dinosaur?
dinosaur? Spritz?
Spritz?
Yeah, apparently.
Cool.
That's a Slophera. At least as currently understood. The little doubly punctate Slopheras got added fairly recently. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. It's a Slophera. Like this thing. Mm-hmm.
Ah, yes.
Not the right shape, but you see?
Yeah, it's straight.
Everything's a Slophera. That's just the way it is. It's in this group, Saugeracii. See here, it even goes from 2 to 1
Mm-hmm, yeah.
in the middle, on both sides. You're just here to be amazed how things look. That's fine. If you want to be amazed at my beard and how nice it is, presumably you mean on screen, not on my face, but... That's what we do in this channel, is basically put visually stunning things up. If it's not diatoms, it could be the moon, it could be lightning, it could be birds, it could be my daughter drawing a picture of a cat. You never know.
Always a surprise.
It's always something of a surprise. Sometimes it's a surprise to me. You're already amazed by my beard? Wow. I work very hard at growing it every day. I concentrate for at least 45 minutes on just making my hair grow. So... the pretty pictures and the stories. Okay. We've got lots of stories. Science stories. Beard meditation. It's a requirement. If I don't meditate, my beard won't grow. And if I want to make the hair longer, I've got to think about it, so... Or rather, not think about it.
You have to send all your energy.
In traditional meditation where I don't think about things, What did you find?
I don't know, it has spines.
Why did you find some little thing? Piece of a diatom. For sure.
But not very useful piece of a diatom.
No. Some of these samples were full of like Cerorellas and things.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if it's this one. Just zoom way out.
Yeah, I just wanted to see if there was like more stuff up there, but
No. See those little squares and stuff?
like these ones?
Yeah, that's your heavy liquid. It didn't get completely rinsed out of the sample.
Crystallized?
It crystallized. Indeed. Teach me how. My head needs hair to come back. I don't know about the hair on the top. I don't know how that grows. Just the one that's here. It's about meditation. I was supposed to get high purity samples of silver, bismuth, niobium, and germanium, but it didn't come in the mail. Did they send that stuff in the mail? Bismuth is like super heavy and weird, isn't it? Like dangerous to ship bismuth? Let's see. I'm starting to suspect some of the diatoms I thought were Pinularia were actually Salafra. Well, Pinularia is pretty easy to identify. Maybe not in the light microscope so much, but for a typical Pinularia in the light microscope, you won't be able to see any striae at all. So it will just look like the alveolus, which is the sort of chamber that's created by the costae around the striae. And then for Pinularia, it has sort of like a mesh over the top of it. I don't know if you, was that this slide we were looking at that had the Pinularia?
Yeah.
Can you find me, zoom out and find us a big old Pinularia so I can show them what I'm
I
talking
can
about?
try.
Just magically zoom in, you know,
I don't
the first
know.
one you find. So it has a big chamber like structure called an alveolus that is in the made of the costae, and then it is covered by sort of a mesh, and the mesh is almost always, I mean, unless you have like the very best microscope optics, you won't be able to see those holes, and so it just looks like their striae just look like, you know, big open tube structures. Basically, they don't look like they have any kind of hole. So for Salafra, a lot of times they're really fine, but you can often still see that they're uniseriate with good microscopes, and the striae shouldn't look the same. Yeah, I think that's a Pinularia. Just laying out for us to look at the alveolus. Is it though?
I don't think so.
No, it's a, I'm gonna say Nidium, maybe? That's not a Pinularia. I don't know what that is really. It's super big. I'm gonna go with Nidium. That's my guess. First guess. It's got a lot of clay in it. Where it's supposed to
Yeah.
have, where it's supposed to be not clay. There's a bunch of clay. Yeah, but it's a small sample. Oh, bismuth is safe. Much safer than lead, okay. Still quite heavy, yeah.
This is a piece of a Cerorella,
There you
right?
go. It's a old school Somatopleura Cerorella. Modern day Cerorella. Broken chunk of,
Yeah.
maybe that one. Yeah, that looks like it is a Pinularia. Yeah.
Yes.
So these structures that you can see that make the dark lines are the alveolus, and if we zoom in on those, if we can get a clear shot of them, you'll see that the inside edge of those, the outside edge of those is, in this case, is covered with a bunch of little sort of like sieve-like holes, but usually they're way too small to see in a light microscope. We can see them, right now. I think if you, yeah,
Yeah, I'm gonna fix
I
the
think you can see that
lighting.
the
You
ones
can kind of see it.
that made it worse.
Yeah.
Zoom in on it, maybe. Get really up in it. There you go.
You
Now you
can
can
kind
see
of
them.
see them, but
You can see them. So it's got like a little sort of mesh-like set of holes over top of it. This is what I
yeah.
always look for when I want to do stigmation. I want to find those little tiny holes so I can make them all perfect.
Perfect.
SEMs, you need one. For some things, you just need one. I think it's true. A lot of the nanofossils, you absolutely need one. It's also very difficult to describe new species today without an SEM. Like
Because
if you
the
try to do
details
it,
come back to those.
yeah, somebody will ask you, like, why didn't you use an SEM if you tried to characterize something? Which is funny because in the old days, a lot of the, famous old diatomists, they didn't have SEMs, obviously. They just had pencil sketches of things.
That's what I was gonna say. Some of them are just someone drew it.
Yeah, and some of them are the most rudimentary sketches, but that's what the type species is described by, and then somebody has to go back. A lot of times somebody will go back and look at the original material and put it on an SEM and be like, well, this is what they mean. But there's so much confusion around what the species actually is because it's based off of a pencil sketch. And so people have this misconception of what the species really is. Because someone has imaged it on higher quality, whatever, and assumed it was that thing without looking at the original. So that happens kind of frequently. There's a lot of people out there. Carlos Wetzel comes by every once in a while, and he's one of those people that investigates things like that, where he looks at the old samples and then looks at what we were calling stuff and really challenges our idea about like the names we have for some of the species, where people just think they know what it is based on what we've seen, but like the hand drawing and the actual thing are pretty different. Squint really hard. That's an approach, Derp. I suppose you could just squint really hard. I feel like it's not going to help. The whole process of squinting is about reshaping your eye, which changes where it focuses inside your eye. It's basically putting glasses on, though. It doesn't actually put on magnifying lenses. At least not when I squint. Something on its side.
This one?
Yeah.
That's a phytolith, no?
Is it?
I think so.
Could be. Hard to tell at this distance. I think you're right. I think it's a phytolith on its side.
Amphora?
Yes. Well, I think it's Halamphora. But yes. One or the other. I can't tell if there's a ledge on the bottom side or not. It doesn't look like it.
It's a little different.
If you actually make a little hole with your finger and look through it, you increase the sharpness of a tiny area in front of you. Like this. You can make a lens with your hand. Is that what you're trying to tell me? Does it work?
I don't know. Maybe. For longer distances.
I say Halamphora like it's 2 words. What's the F stuff on your finger? What's the difference between the two, amphora and Halamphora? It's
a ledge.
Yeah, it's whether or not the raphe has a ledge on both sides or on one side, and that's a really technical difference. So for amphora, there's a raphe ledge on both sides. So the raphe sits on an elevated piece of silica, and then if you go towards the valve in either direction, there's like a step down onto the valve face, and that is what we call a raphe ledge. And for amphora, it only happens on one side, or sorry, on both sides, and for halamphora, it only happens on one side. And typically, there's also a relationship, at least from my perspective, that is, do you know what that is? We haven't run into these yet. It's another genus that we haven't hit in the class. From my perspective, halamphora also has very small striae, very sometimes non-existent or nearly non-existent striae on the ventral margin, and the dorsal margin has normal striae. But for amphora, typically there are striae on both margins, so on the other side of the raphe, or very obvious striae on both sides of the raphe. Have you figured it out yet?
Not Nitsia, but the other one.
The other one.
I know the name.
Do you want me to help you?
Hansia.
Hansia. I didn't even have to help you. Hansia, not Nitsia. And before you ask Microbe Guru, Nitsia has raphe on the same side of the valve for both valves, like the top and the bottom. Hansia has it on the same side for the top and the bottom, and Nitsia has them on opposite sides, top and bottom. So it runs around one margin on the upper valve, and on the lower valve, it would be on the other margin. For Hansia, it's on the same side for both valves. A sausage-shaped diatom. A tiny banana. Put your two index fingers and your thumb together, and your two thumbs together, and they make a small plus-shaped hole, and hold your hands like that, 1/2 meter away from you, and look through it. And the image through that is sharper. Like this. I don't know if I can get my hands a perfect 1/2 meter away, but if you say so. We know what this one is.
We know?
Oh, you don't know?
Well, I'm not sure because it doesn't have a raphe or anything.
This valve doesn't.
But these really long ones.
No raphe on one valve. Has a raphe on the other one, though. This comes from not looking. In the microscope, you would know what that was.
Coconut?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, you would know that instantly in a light microscope. The fact that you're struggling with it was funny to me, because I know you know cockneys.
Cockneys.
I was like, how does she not know this one? Is this the SEM?
Looked weird, yeah.
Yeah, the transition to SEM is very difficult sometimes. Alright. Why does that make the image sharper if I hold my fingers like this and then I look through it?
What's 1/2 meter, like that?
What? Why are you asking me what a 1/2 meter is? Isn't that your native distance?
Yes. I don't know. I don't really have trouble looking at things at a distance, so.
You can't make it sharper if it's already sharp? Is that what you're trying to say? This one's head's already been crushed. Uh-oh, we've been raided. Cosmo Quest X. Thank you for the raid. Look at this.
There's a lot of diatoms on this
Cosmo?
screen.
Look at that. There's a lot of diatoms on the screen. Yeah, that's what explodes when
people come in?
When they raid.
Uh-huh.
Or when they subscribe.
Oh.
Yeah. Yay! Cosmo Quest. Look at this. I also have Cosmo Quest emotes. Look at that. It's basically the same thing to what happens in a camera. Alright, well, then I guess it could have enough stuff. It works for me, but only if I don't have my contact lenses in. Oh, okay. Hello, broken symmetry. It's because you force the light waves that hit your retina to have a straight path to the thing that you're looking at. Oh. Oh, it's a polarizer is what you're telling me. I've polarized it with my fingers. That I could believe. And a little tiny polarizer. Will we get a Sylvia art stream again soon? Right now, my plan for Sylvia is Fridays. We do a little art stream where she draws on screen with
That's very
the
nice.
iPad. And so that's probably will happen this Friday. Unless something, other event comes up to, like sometimes the neighbor girl just comes over and knocks on the door right before we stream. And then she's like, I don't want to do it. I want to go play. So she's 7. You just got to put up with that. But yes, I think she'll be streaming on Friday with me again. I think she likes the attention of having people watch her draw, and I think in her spare time she's been practicing whatever she practices so that she has something ready to start with each time, and then but then we just do requests. You can just request Sylvia to draw something for you.
What's going on here?
That diatom is, the whole frustule is there, but it's been broken.
Dissolved,
yeah, it's
or
dissolved
something?
and broken. Whoa. Joe said they just tried it and it works for them, although only with their glasses on. Does it matter which one of your glasses that you use, Joe? Wait, what did I have for a command? I didn't make a command for Joe yet. How is that still possible? Shout out to Joseph. Hey, Joseph. If you have your blue glasses versus your white glasses, does it change whether you could actually see stuff better? Did everyone just try to look at something at the distance through their hands? Probably. I think everybody wants to see what's going on. Did you know that human eyes have very slight sensitivity to light polarization? There we go. We did some sort of polarization with our fingers. The where go with the snail was great. Yes. So she drew. She was trying to draw a wolf, but then decided later that it looked more like a goat.
Oh, okay.
And so then also she started to draw some sort of ram-like horns on it, but decided it looked more like a snail. So then she just drew a snail on the back of a goat, and the goat was a were-goat, so we had to have a moon it was howling at. It's very, very cool. It was a Halloween theme.
Ah, that's very nice.
So the were-goats lived on one planet, and the snails were sort of rainbow cosmic snails, and they came from a different planet that was nearby, but they shared a moon. So they were very close to each other.
Cool.
If you're going to have friends that are snails that are on another alien planet, it's good that they're close.
Yeah, I mean,
because it's hard to get
makes
from
it
their
easy,
planet to
yeah.
your planet, and then it's good that they share a moon so that it doesn't seem weird to them, when they see it. They don't go, what is that thing? Only the blue ones, okay. Look up Haydinger's brush. But it's not what's happening when you look through the hole. Oh, it's not? Okay.
These ones stars are construents. Or what?
Yes.
Is the correct name?
I'm confused by it a little bit, but yes. That one has weird striae patterns. But I think it's just because there's a little bit of clay covering the pores right here. I think it has just short striae coming out here, and then this one should wrap, I think it actually should wrap into here. Maybe it doesn't, but yes. So discrete little holes, right? These ones are sort of oval shaped, so we know it's Starosira, and then they alternate such that they don't match with the other one on the opposite side. right? It would have rolled in between these two. This one would roll in between those two. And then there's an apical pore field. You can see up here, this is what's called an oscilimbus type apical pore field. A little square thing, like a patch. And there's one on both ends. There's one down here as well. There's not a lot of characteristics. And then you can see it also has little tiny spines. That's what these bright spots are.
Yeah.
These would normally connect them valve face to valve face. So yeah, that's Stauroconstruens. Yeah, they were sharing a moon. Don't ask me how that works. I try not to fight with 7-year-old logic on how the moon could have been shared. Also, that you can see something through it. It looks like there's a diatom behind it.
Yeah, it does have a
covering
shadow
over
or
a diatom.
something.
You counted 433 valves today. All right. Good work. I mean, I don't know how long you've been at it, or whether they were 399 of the same valve or not, but good work.
I click here and it goes here, right?
What do you want to do?
Go here.
That won't move it to there, no.
Okay.
You have to move it there manually. Zoom out.
Yeah.
And then just go up.
Like this direction.
Yep, that's the right direction. That'll take you where you want to go. You're headed there now. What's in there? Did you find something?
No, I've been stuck like in this side, so I'm going to the other
Got
side.
it. Have you ever seen an etched nickel meteor crystal?
Oops, too far.
I don't think so. Microguru, thank you for stopping in. You can ask questions whenever you like. I'm happy to try to answer whatever they might be, especially if they're really technical taxonomic questions, because who else am I going to geek out with besides Laura and maybe Anna about the super technical stuff? Happy to have you here. So, have you ever seen an etched nickel meteorite crystal? So there's a guy who works in the chemistry department downstairs, Stephen Wolf, and he studies meteorites. And he brought me a meteorite sample to put on the SEM. It was mounted in some sort of an epoxy, but the rest of the top surface had been shaved off, I think, so that it was actually exposed. And then for whatever reason, we put that in the SEM sometime because he had some kids here for a class and he wanted to show them something. So I said, well, if you have, part of a meteor, that would be cool. That would be cool. So we did look at some meteorites, but I don't remember what kind of meteorite it was. I have a feeling it was a chondrite, but meteorites are not a thing that I study, and I don't have regular access to them because you kind of have to buy them, I guess, if you want them, because they're kind of expensive and rare. But no, to answer your question, I don't think I've looked at what you asked. You'll get a beautiful crystal pattern if it was in etched nickel. You'd recognize it. No, I haven't seen it. Oh, that's a weird diatom.
This one?
Yeah.
I was going for this one.
Trying to stay on target?
Well,
Looking at the Lindavia?
I haven't seen a Stephanodiscus in a while. But
That's a Lindavia. That's
I saw
Lindavia
around
intermedia.
me, but
This one,
a little covered.
Nidium? I think it's the same as that other big Nidium that we saw. It's either Nidium or star anise. It's got the puncticulate surface. It's not a very good
No, it's very
subject.
covered.
Yeah, it's got junk on it. Covered with the junk.
Mm-hmm.
Chippy Flip, hello. Hooray for midday SEM. Really, that's the only kind of SEM we normally do around here. I could do an evening stream, but it would require me to come in, you know. What is that? After my daughter goes to sleep or something. So I'm usually home, eat dinner, try to hang out with my family a little bit in the evenings. So I don't know what that is.
I don't know either.
Oh, I do know what it is. It's Aulacosira. That's the surface of an Aulacosira. We're looking at the valve face.
Okay. I don't. Do we want this one?
No. It's a little tiny, like Aulacosira distans.
Was this one right?
Yeah. Double planet, single moon, possibly. Not sure how tides would work, but the shape shifting could be adaptational to that, maybe. Yeah, exactly. When you just make stuff up on the fly and you're 7, anything's possible. This is. Do you know what this one is?
Anomalies?
Anomalies. Being on site in the evening can be a drag. Actually, I don't mind coming into work at night because all of the students are gone. And not my grad students, they're probably still here working very hard. But the undergrads are all typically out of the lab, except for Eleanor.
Not if it's Eleanor, yeah.
Who also is usually here working late. But I mean, like, the halls are empty and there's not a lot of people around. And when you're on the SEM, you can't really tell what's going on in the outside world anyway. You're just, like, lost in your own little tiny spaceship of diatoms. That's a pretty cool diatom. I feel like you need to zoom in on it because there's a lot of blank space. I don't know what's going on the valve end, on the lower apex.
Here?
Yeah, what is that?
Let's see.
I really don't know what's going on right there. For a moment, I thought I was having a stroke. I was like, what? What is this? What's the structure? I don't know. I still don't know.
It's doing something weird.
It's very doing something weird. I think they're just mantle areoli, but that looks like almost like an apical pore field of some kind. Well, we need a picture. It can just be the overview picture. Because if I had to guess what it was, I would start with like Platessa or Rossithidium. It's probably a monoraphid diatom.
Yeah, a small monoraphid.
Yeah. Time to visit the local diatom watch. Pre-COVID, I'd sometimes come in on a weekend since the office would be dead. Yeah, it's a good time. It sort of reminds me of like the summer when the students are mostly gone. So, let's see. You'd see this. Oh, it's the pattern. Okay, let me see. Oh, okay, yeah. This is the pattern. I've seen that structure before from people showing what meteorites look like. I've not seen it in the SEM before, though, no. So, the universe is a strange place. Planets can be goofy. I guess so, if you say so. That's what makes 7-year-old logic interesting. Thought experiments. Exactly. I think it's good that they're creative and that they just sort of let whatever come out of their mouths sometimes without much of a filter. Sometimes that can be a good thing. Sometimes it makes me want to wish people would shut up, but sometimes it's really cool, especially when it's little kids. That's the nickel meteor pattern. Okay, yeah. You're highly curious how it would look under an SEM. Well, if you have some, just send them to me. Artful Turkey, it can't be toes, because we don't have toes anymore. We just have foot fingers.
Yes.
Whatever that structure is, it's also on the valve face.
Yeah, it's here.
I don't know
and
what's going on there.
here.
I need to send this picture to. I need to phone a friend.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a really confusing thing going on this diatom. Could be the sample's charging a bit. No, not for mine. Nothing's charged on there. So, or maybe it's just how it rasters in a fast mode. I don't think so. Those structures are
There.
those are
They're
there.
there.
They're there on both sides of the diatom, on both
Here.
last
Here.
cell, unless you're talking about something different.
But see, has it, doesn't have it, has it. Like it's not
Yeah,
in here.
it's
Has
it's
it,
like
doesn't have it.
alternating.
Yeah.
It's very weird. Oh, okay. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't have one. I just bought a house, so I can't really spend the money to buy one. If they cost as much as a house, I feel like you might just need to be curious or Google it. If you can't send me a piece of one of them, I can't afford it either, would be my guess. But congratulations on buying a house. That's cool.
That's exciting.
It's a combination of excitement and giant headache. Because you have you have all this like anxiety, combination of anxiety and excitement, right? You just want to get in and move in and all that stuff. And then there's always a possibility that like you've got to replace the furnace.
Like you had to?
I don't think we did.
No?
We didn't have much that was broken when we moved into our house, very fortunately. There's a giant rubble.
Yeah, but it's covered.
Yeah. I think there's some in here that are uncovered. You just have to go looking
Look for them.
It's a bit of a hunt. $80 for a 7-gram sample. Yikes. Apologies for your chatter. You can chatter as much as you like, Organic. You don't need to apologize for that. That's what the chat's for, is for chatter. I was talking about aliasing I was seeing as you were driving around. Oh, in the sample area. Oh, that's just a byproduct of how fast she has the SEM speed set to. So,
So I can move around
I think
easily.
Laura has it set on speed 4, which means that
Yes.
it draws very slowly, but fast enough that you can move, and it just leaves like a weird artifact on the screen as a result. It's an internal view of a Diplonis.
This one?
Yep. And if she sped it up a little bit faster, it would just look like a TV screen, but it would be a little bit more staticky. Yeah, like that. Now it would move faster, it won't leave those weird artifacts, but then it has like a staticky look to it. So it's harder to see what she wants to find for specimens. There's something.
I think it's the Alocosira thing.
Oh, it's the same
I think
one.
it's the same one.
We've been here before. Actually, can you go up to that thing and zoom in on it? It's confusing to me what that is.
It's a diatom piece,
Well,
I think.
I know it's a
For
diatom.
sure.
Thank you.
That's all I have for you. It's a diatom piece.
I think it's a very, very large Gomphanema, a Gomphanese, is my guess. I think that's an axial plate that we're seeing, and then those little windows on the margin. The other option is it could be a very large pinnularia. Those are my two guesses. Okay, you can move on. I was just thought maybe if we had a look at it, I could tell. Um, Getting a mortgage is stressful, yeah. Well, no rush, Cobalt. If you find a sample and you want to send it to me, I would happy to stick it on the SEM and we could take a look at it. The nice thing about metal meteorite samples is I don't need to even gold coat it. I can just stick it on a piece of tape and stick it in the SEM, and we should be able to image it perfectly. So, because it's metal, so we don't have to worry about it charging up or anything. That is. Oh, it's a Cockney.
Yeah, I think we are in a Cockney's.
High Cockneys area.
Yeah.
I recall getting image warping that looks kind of similar to the aliasing due to stage motion when I had that part. Oh, when it wasn't well grounded, yeah. You can get that sort of an artifact temporarily on the screen just from moving around, but it will, if it charges, it will draw a line like that sometimes. Usually that sort of artifact is created when you have a whole bunch of like topographic highs around your specimen, and then when it scans across, it gets some sort of disturbance from moving it from very high to very low surfaces, and then it will draw a line across the screen, kind of like that. A common problem when I'm trying to image stuff that's like hiding in a little valley of debris. So you're going to explain to them the heavy liquid separation?
Yes. So the problem we had with these samples was that with the normal diatom preparation, we didn't really have a lot of them. So our next solution was concentrating them, and for that we need to separate them by density. So first you have to go through an acid treatment and then rinse the acid and then just put on the heavy liquid. So basically all the diatoms, or really all the silica, floats. So you kind of concentrate. You typically use 0.05 grams of material for normal diatom stuff. For this we used 1 cc, so 1 cubic centimeter, so that's a lot. And then we just separated whatever floated and discarded everything else. We also had to get rid of a lot of the seals because they could stick to our silica, so we don't want the seals, we want the silica. And then we just rinse out all the heavy liquid, but apparently some of it is still there.
You can see there's some crystals.
Crystallized. And then after that we just did the normal thing of putting them on the stubs or microscope slides, and then we have more diatoms that we can actually see and count, rather than just being happy with saying there's no diatoms.
So from low concentration, basically the heavy liquids are used as you just use the specific gravity of silicon dioxide. So the things that basically have a higher specific gravity will fall through the boundary, and things that have a lower specific gravity will float, or an equal one will float on that surface. And then you put your sample in, basically it falls through water, it hits the heavy liquid, and then if it's heavier than the heavy liquid, it will penetrate that, and then usually, I don't know how you and Chad typically do it, but we usually took like a pipette and pipetted just the surface of the heavy liquid.
No, what we did was like we run it through the
Centrifuge?
Centrifuge, and then we like did the very careful handwork of like,
Decanting.
yeah, taking all the liquid like very quickly, and then
Okay.
the other part was just,
I just use like a transfer pipette and take the top.
no, we did like, whoo,
A quick twist.
yeah, and then we just centrifuge it more, and then water goes in, and you take all the heavy liquid out because now everything's going to the bottom.
Right.
So you just take it and do it over and over.
Rinse it over
until
again,
it's
just
like,
till it's water and diatoms, hopefully.
yes.
So this is basically a way of concentrating samples that have very sparse diatom concentrations in them. And we use it for things like soils or sometimes old lake sediments that aren't diatomites or aren't diatom rich, but definitely have diatoms present, so that we can get enough of the material to actually see what's in it. Ooh, that looks good. Potentially.
Let's see.
Internal view, Lindavia intermedia. So that's sort of a neat approach to getting the diatom samples that we need, because if it's a very low concentrations, then we'd have to look through a lot of material even to see one diatom, right? And so these samples have many diatoms present.
That's the way it was when I first prepared them. I was like, this is not going to work.
Yeah. So we start by looking to see what's in there, and then basically make a decision about, is it worth it to try to do heavy liquid separation to get the diatoms concentrated enough to analyze? And usually when people ask me about, like, is it going to be worthwhile, I usually tell them no, because it's a lot of work. I mean, you have 6 samples, and you had to spend several hours rinsing, and
I think it was 2 days. We separated
2 full
into
days
2 days. So.
of like trying to get the samples out for 6 samples, because you can only run so many in a centrifuge.
In the centrifuge, that's the thing.
And then it's time consuming. So, you know, if you're going to go through all that processing, basically, you got to make it worthwhile. It's got to be something that's, you know, and it's expensive chemicals. The heavy liquids are expensive. The lab time, if you think about it in terms of time, is time intensive or expensive in time. And so, you know, if somebody handed me 400 samples and was like, I want all of these with heavy liquid separation,
no.
I would just be like, I don't think it's worth it. It would have to be like a special project for that to be something that I would really want to invest that kind of time and energy in. Because that's months of preparation to look at those slides. So. This is the internal view, and it's probably Lindavia intermedia or something kind of close to that. The valve face is covered with a series of valve face photoportula. They have 3 satellite pores, and then there are supposed to be 2 rhemoportula somewhere around, somewhere halfway between these things and this thing. There should be some sort of a structure. Here it is. There's a rhemoportula, which means the other rhemoportula should be over here. It may be underneath some of this chemical. This is some of the heavy liquid chemical. You can see it makes squares when it dries. That's how we know. But some of that's basically the liquid was trapped in this, and then when it dried, it basically just crystallized inside the diatom valve. Oh, wait, it's this one, I think.
Yeah, I
essentially.
think so.
So the other one would still be the same. General location on the opposite side. For Lindavia, as they get larger in size class, they go from 2 to 3, sometimes 4 rhemoportula. But I think that's still in the sort of 2 size range for that species. something up there. Ooh. Another weird Lindavia-like critter.
A little bit weird, the texture.
Yeah, the surface of it's very strange. There's a lot of the really old Cyclotella/Lindavia things are kind of
Do
like
that?
this. They're what we call colliculate on the valve face.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of a commensus style structure, like Lindavia commensus has that sort of a pattern, but that's way too big for Lindavia commensus. Lurking for meeting. Yeah, no problem. Thanks for hanging out, Chippy Flip. And I should probably give a shout out to Chippy Flip. Sorry about that. Get a little lost in what I'm doing sometimes. I don't have Pacific to just take care of it automatic for me. Chippy Flip does astrophotography, right? I think that's what they do.
Cool.
And they do some streams from telescopes. Well, what do you think? This experiment has been a success?
I think so. There's a good array of diatoms.
So I think we found some Climatensis. We found some things that look like Coruscus, and we're not totally sure if they're Coruscus or not. They might be Climatensis. And okay, easy mode astrophotography from your backyard using a telescope that does all of the hard work. That's it sounds like the ideal situation, because the hard work is the part that sucks. Also, yes, that's a money pit for sure. So those all the stuff that I do with astrophotography, I do without a telescope. I just do it with my camera. And everybody tells me that my lenses are kind of like telescope lenses, because I can see a lot of the same things that they can see with a telescope. But I have to find the stars, or I have to find whatever it is I want to image. I don't have the luxury of having, like, I can just type in coordinates and it goes to the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I can mount my camera onto a telescope, and we do have a telescope that does that stuff. I just need to...
Is there a hole dark enough for space exploration?
Yes and no. If you're looking at something really far away, it doesn't matter a whole lot that you have to look through light. If you're trying to get something like really, that requires really dark skies, then no, it's not very good. Like if you're trying to do a broader field, like if I wanted to just take a picture of Orion Nebula, I could probably do that from my yard, no problem.
Okay.
But if I wanted to take a picture of the Milky Way, which requires us to see the whole sky, then I wouldn't be able to see it at all.
This one was Lindavia.
SP2. I don't know what that is.
Lindavia.
You haven't used your telescope in 2 years. Well, you only have yourself to blame for that, probably, since it's your telescope. Why don't we find one more thing? It's been like 3 hours of us streaming, and then we can find someone to chase down.
It has to be a cool one.
Is that required? The last one has to be the best one, so
Yes.
you better find something really good. That's not it.
No. Disappointing.
I was once at 2-kilometer altitude in the U.S. in the middle of nowhere, and I took some beautiful pictures of the night sky there. Yeah, I've taken some pictures from the night sky at the top of the Beartooth Mountains, and I have some really beautiful images from that. Unfortunately, it was when I first was learning how to do astrophotography. I was basically just teaching myself on the fly, and subsequently, I feel like I've gotten a lot better at it about making decisions about how long I should leave things exposed, and I have a thing that will turn with the sky now that I didn't used to have, and I feel like, man, if I'd had that stuff on that night where we were out there and it was super clear, there was no moon, and I knew what I was doing, and I had my nice new camera, probably would have been amazing. So eventually I'll probably manage to sneak back out to the Beartooth Mountains and do something like that. I did get some nice pictures when I was in, ooh, what is it? Is this Stephanodiscus?
I think so.
Can you keep zooming in?
Maybe
Maybe not
a
that far.
Lindavia.
I think it's a Lindavia. It's just a really big one. It's got a very broad central plate. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. It's a pain to use, and I get frustrated, and someone stole of my good eyepieces. That does sound like a negative experience. All right. Is this it?
It's,
This is it?
it has a baby.
It has a little tiny baby.
Look at it.
Babies.
I think
Grunalia?
it's the one I didn't know.
Yeah, I think it's a Grunalia. All right. Let's see. Well, we have choices on who we might want to raid. And my suggestions are either music, Num the Geek, Hannah is also on, or Lorgana. And she is volunteering at the Fossil Lab at the Field Museum.
Oh my god. Here.
Okay, I figured that's what was going to happen. I shouldn't have even asked. I should have just been like, alright, we're going to raid Lorgana. That's Lorgana.
It looks like intermediate a little bit.
A little bit. It doesn't have the concentric undulation in the valve face. It's too flat. Right? So we'll give Lorgana a raid. Our friend Lorgana. Raid Lorgana. And she's doing something super cool. So we're looking at fossils. We'll go over and raid a fossil.
Yes.
Sounds like a good plan. Good luck with all the studies. This is Laura, by the way. And we got raided by CosmoQuest X. We got cheers from Brands Reef. We have follow from Rafferty FL. We got a follow from O'Haru from today's stream. So, and I want to thank everybody for hanging out, chatting with us, keeping conversations sort of lively. And thanks to Laura for coming in and running the SEM while I just handled the chat in my self-modding my own stream approach. I will probably be back sometime, maybe tonight, to do a little bit of woodworking, or maybe it'll be tomorrow or the next day, a little woodworking stream, and then Friday probably with Sylvia drawing. I don't know if we'll stream on Saturday or not. If I do, it may also be woodworking. We'll see. So, all right. We will catch you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye. We rated a Be Right Back screen.
Oh no. Oh, that's strange.
Sorry.